1, 2, 3. Wow, look at that sound wave. Look at that. Look at that perfect sine wave.
That is satisfying to look at.
All right, so yeah, we were talking about pizza. Luke, what's your hottest pizza take? Go.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fan of pineapple on pizza. I generally just go for barbecue sauce and as much meat as possible on one. That's my...
You sound like maybe like if a caveman was gonna order a pizza.
Yeah, pretty much.
How many animals have to die for you to enjoy a pizza?
All the animals.
So you know what? I'm gonna read out my pizza order, which never fails to disgust everyone because there's a bit of it that everyone hates.
Oh,
so
God.
it starts off tame with some mushrooms.
Okay.
But then I throw some olives, pineapple and anchovy and maybe tuna.
What?
Okay, what?
Why do you eat pizza?
Descended into madness at the end.
Tuna.
Okay, for the right answer.
Tuna.
By the way, the right answer is, like, for me, it's just green peppers and onions. It's very easy.
Ooh.
They work those two things work together so well and everything anyway. It's obvious. It's too
Yeah, but
obvious.
so does anchovy and everything.
Anchovy and pineapple. It's a classic combination. Everybody does it.
I go pretty simple. I go pepperoni and jalapenos.
Okay,
You know,
that's
we've got
understandable.
a good representative podcast.
Yeah, I've also done one before. Like a few times, I'd get just jalapenos and pineapples, which is really nice. The spicy and sweet kicked together. It's fun.
I can't get into the pineapple thing.
It's okay. I think
so nice.
I'm not gonna like defend them because so many people seem so angry about it, and I just am scared of them. I guess.
Yeah, it's not the hill that you'll die on.
No,
Coward.
no, not today.
I will, over my cold dead body, you'll take my anchovy and pineapple combination.
I don't want it.
So I'm over here just with barbecue, chicken, bacon, sweet corn, and pepperoni is generally my go-to.
I mean, that sounds pretty good too. I think I'd probably go for that as well.
So there's a supermarket near me where you can get your own pizzas made up in front of you, and it's like a free £4 for one. Stick it in the oven for 15-20 minutes.
Oh, I see. Okay, so they give you one to like take and bake, kind of a thing.
Yeah, like they pull out a base and just ask you what you want on it, and then cover it in plastic, and then you just take it home and cook it. And I used to,
nice.
At my old job, I used to walk past it on the way home, so sometimes I would drop in and grab one.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I've been to those before, like where they make you like a take and bake at like a big supermarket. Those are nice. Okay, well, let's jump into it. So, welcome everybody to Pizza Busters. This is a podcast from pizzaluster.com. If you're new here, each week we just dive into a different pizza that we're gonna, maybe talk about a little bit and reminisce about. So everybody, everyone brought sort of a thing here. Let me do for real. Just quickly, we are Game Busters. This is not Pizza Busters. If you are looking for that podcast,
what?
you're in the wrong place.
I've been lied to.
Turning my recorder off now.
I am gonna be. We are gonna be discussing games in terms of mouthfeel, though. If that makes you feel better.
Mouthfeel.
Mouthfeel.
Okay. I think I can get behind that. I can get behind that.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're new here, we basically every week dive into a different game or a franchise and discuss its history and development and say like, hey, member, and
we remember that.
Remember. So yeah, we're just trying to chill here. I'm Nirav and I'm your host as always, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host Ree.
Howdy, howdy.
And our special guests are Luke from GameLuster.
Hello.
And then Kyle from The Real World.
Hi.
He's real.
The Real World, that old reality TV show.
Yeah, actually, I did remember that as I was saying it. Was it like a Nickelodeon affair? What was that?
I think it was MTV.
MTV, it might have. Yo, you're right.
Yeah.
I remember it is because in WWE there's a guy called The Miz who was on that and was like a massive wrestling fan back then, and then went on to go to the WWE and even won the top championship at one point.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, today we're gonna. So the recent, as you can see, we're inspired a little bit by recent events here. So today we're gonna be talking about the Wolfenstein franchise, which I picked up because of the events at just America. Made me kind of feel like I did want to kill some Nazis and see how that would go. And it has gone well.
Always a good feeling.
Completely apolitical podcast, apart from the fact there's a woman on here.
This is an apolitical podcast about Wolfenstein.
I will be quiet as much as possible so we can reduce the politics.
If you could just let the men talk.
Oh, God.
Okay, I'm glad we already went too far with that joke.
Yeah.
Had to get that out of the way.
Yeah, I don't want. I'm gonna get like clipped on Twitch and then like fucking cancelled.
If you ever get a job at a massive website at some point, and then someone's gonna bring this clip
Somebody's
up,
gonna find
it.
Serious.
If you ever say that you're leaving GameLuster, I'll be like, "Oh, you sure?" And then just like, sort of
are you sure?
you.
Seems like you might not feel so not do so well out there.
You know, I'm gonna actually save that clip in case someone uses me as a reference.
Okay, great. I've successfully sort of ended my whole career thing, I guess, so far today. Okay, so let's jump into it though. What we did want to talk about first is the Hall of Fameluster. Everybody, let's come on in. We are again still on the moon. I don't know if you've been seeing, but like, so like, you know, we bought the moon from Elon Musk, and he's the richest person in the world now. The problem is that we paid him in Bitcoin, and Bitcoins have been a little bit weird. I think you may have seen in the news lately. They've been going up, but also it's bad, if I understand. And sorry?
I would say I think our deal with Elon Musk has shaken up the real world more than we thought. We as a podcast have a lot of reach.
Yeah, I think so. I think we had six or 7 billion listeners last week. It was one of those. It was around there, which is almost everybody. So we're doing pretty well.
I mean, it could be higher.
It could be higher, and that's why I'm not satisfied. The problem is that we did give Elon Musk all of our Bitcoins, and if I had held on to them, then we would be the richest people in the world. Unfortunately,
I think we'll have to settle for the most successful podcast.
Yeah, we are. But like I said, we're on the moon. We've got the whole moon now to work with. So, the sky's the limit, literally. Just, whatever entries we want to bring into the Hall of Fameluster, I'm sure they'll fit on the moon. He said moments before one of them didn't. Yeah, so today we're going to be trying to find the... I want this vibe, basically. I don't know how to word this the best way, but, like, this character is definitely a Nazi, but, like, they're not, like, technically in the game, but they, like, definitely are.
Yeah.
So
I think there's probably going to be a few, because
game
developers really love their overt Nazi references.
Yeah,
with
without committing to sort of, like, saying anything about the Nazis, yeah.
They do love that.
Yeah. All right, so why don't you kick us off, Luke?
Okay, mine's a risky one, but
all right.
I was thinking about the protagonist of Saints Row.
Ooh,
wow!
Do explain.
Especially in the second and third games, because so essentially in the start of the second game is the character wakes up from a coma, breaks out of jail, reforms the Saints, and starts taking over Stillwater.
Mm-hmm.
However, the thing that always bugs me, at the time I thought whatever, I was young so I didn't really see it, but in the second game when you start the storyline involving the Brotherhood, which is one of the rival gangs, the first mission in it is you go to a meet with the leader and he tries to make an offer to you. He's like, I know you guys used to be really powerful, how about we team up, we'll take over the city together and we'll split it like 80-20 or something.
Mm-hmm. And
the player character rejects it, then the police ambush them, they fight their way out, blah blah blah. Over the rest of that quest line, I just think that Saints Row second Saints Row game especially, just the protagonist is an utter prick. He has no justification for taking over Stillwater beyond I want power. He or she will use extremely violent methods to take over, like the stuff that the Brotherhood storyline, especially the stuff where like you kidnap Mero's girlfriend and lock her in the trunk of a car. That then gets put into the arena where Mero is driving a monster truck around, so he crushes his own girlfriend.
Jesus,
yeah,
really messed up in hindsight nowadays. You steal like radioactive materials and put it in the tattoo ink that he uses, so he gets his face severely burnt. And I just think, like, especially in the second and third games, the protagonist is a prick. He's a genuine piece of shit who's just power hungry more than anything. There's no reasons, there's no justification for half the stuff he does. And, like, I think he definitely perhaps shows some fascist tendencies in that he wants to rule Stillwater for no real good reason other than I want power, or which the Saints used to rule the city, therefore we still should.
Wow. Well, you've successfully convinced me to not like this person, so that's good.
Yeah, and actually, with the third game, it's not so much of a problem because they do not take a lot seriously in that game.
No.
In the second one, it's definitely a more serious game, and when the Brotherhood eventually get revenge on you by brutally taking out one of your own, you're meant to have like an immense hatred.
The hero and they're the bad guys.
Yeah,
really, it's like.
But
I mean,
you
don't get me
would
wrong.
100% ask for it.
What they do to Carlos, his name, I believe, is messed up.
Yeah.
But not unwarranted, I guess, in the sense of, I think...
We
by
started
this point,
it.
Yeah, like, you start the fights with every gang in that game. It's not like they attack first.
Yeah, exactly that.
Also, like, in Saints Row 3, though, like, the whole motion of events is caused by you robbing a bank owned by a crime syndicate. And the crime syndicate, basically, their offer is to absolve the Saints into their syndicate, and your response is to then wipe out major syndicate assets and gangs. And again, it's just the same deal of like, the protagonist does shitty things, potentially faces punishment, and responds by just destroying entire groups and people out of nothing more than sheer spite and power hunger.
Not the most reasonable person, no.
No.
I've only done Saints Row 4 where you're the president and then you would like explode the White House and fly away at the beginning.
Saints Row 4 is pretty funny. I think Saints Row 4 is the only time where the protagonist is actually justified in a lot of their actions because it's against alien invaders who blow up Earth.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I do like how over the top that whole series is, especially once you get to 3. That's just, it's amazing.
2's a bit more grounded in tone.
Yeah.
It's still silly, but like I just think in the context of things, when you put the second and third games into context, maybe the protagonist is the bad guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Or at least he's not much better than the people he fights in those games.
Nice. Okay, so Kyle, who have you brought?
Okay, I brought from a super unknown game, Mass Effect, Saren.
Ooh.
Basically a Nazi, a super anti-human. Before he got corrupted by the Reapers, he was super anti-human already. And then, of course, once he got indoctrinated by the Reapers, his main mission is to turn everyone into a machine. So, I mean, from a genocidal standpoint, I thought he's basically a Nazi.
Okay, that's pretty good. All right, yeah. Rhea, I think I already know what yours is. Why don't you just say it?
I wonder if you do, actually. So, mine are specifically the Templars up until Dragon Age Inquisition, because for some reason they massively reform. But this is what I was alluding to earlier when I said that video game devs fucking love to make Nazi references without going the whole mile. So in the Dragon Age 2 in particular, the Templars are just needlessly cruel. Like, they just kill the mages for fun, they lock them up for no good reason, then like I said, just absolutely needlessly cruel to them while they're in captivity, and then they literally do a fucking final solution at the end where they're just like, let's kill all of them, I guess. And then in Inquisition, they were like, maybe we went a little bit too far with the Nazism, so suddenly they're actually like a really reasonable bunch, and we're like, yeah, we got a little bit out of hand there. But I just find it funny how BioWare were just having so much fun slapping on the Nazi references to the Templars, and then went, oh whoops, took that a bit too far. So yeah, I'm going with them.
All right, nice. I think that the thing I sort of was expecting, which is also my backup, is of course we have to give a shout out to the Brotherhood of Steel, the original video game Nazis.
So close to saying them.
Right, who is just literally Nazis. I mean, there's no other really thing about it. Like, their whole thing is like, let's cleanse the Commonwealth. You know, we're gonna purge the impure DNA.
That kind of sounds like Caesar's Legion from New Vegas as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're a little bit like that too.
But
all right.
Yeah, I mean, the Brotherhood, they, even when they're like less controversial, they still have Nazi tendencies. I mean, in the first game, they're more about just sort of keeping to themselves, but that is also fueled out of an insane bigotry of like, they're impure, like, so yeah, they've always been Nazis. I don't know what the fans are saying.
Yeah,
they're not.
I will say, like, I think they took it in Fallout 4. They took it to even like a further extreme, like to make them like the actual Nazis of the thing. So like good job, Todd, on that one. I'm gonna put in the Brotherhood of Steel as an entry from Todd Howard also.
Love you, Todd. Great to have you on. Very shy, very shy.
He's never spoken once, but he's
never
here.
Spoken. He actually was just messaging me about how much he loves pizza with corn on it, and I was like, Todd, I don't want you to say that out loud. Don't want that on the record.
I'll defend you for many things, but that's not one of them.
So my real entry is now technically counts because he's been in many video games. You know him. You may know him as Voldemort.
I might have heard the name at one point.
May have, yeah. I don't know if I have to defend myself too much about that one. He sort of is like big Nazi energy the whole way through. He is legit. He literally is Hitler. I don't know that there's a lot else to say. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, of course, let's. And if I do have to cite a specific game, I do want to cite 2001's Xbox original Xbox game, Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup.
I remember that.
I actually bought that game like 5 years ago just because I wanted the nostalgia from playing it originally.
Dude, that was a good game, man. How'd it hold up?
Not too well.
Yeah,
but it was still it was fun for like a night of having like a few beers and playing that game all night.
Sure.
I remember there was a Chamber of Secrets game that I played a lot of for some reason.
Oh yeah, like the Chamber of Secrets and the Prisoner of Azkaban games, like we played a lot of. And then like, and then also the game. I don't know, like, do you remember back when like the handheld version of games was like not the same game as the console version?
Yeah,
I remember a Tony Hawk game on Game Boy.
Yeah,
it's like isometric top-down view. It's weird.
The Harry Potter Prisoner of Azkaban game, like for Game Boy Advance, was just like, jump over the rats. What? Collect the beans. You gotta get the beans!
And then, I never actually played it, but I remember there was an EA one that was just like Harry Potter, but it's a cover-based shooter. I remember seeing
Wait, what?
Yeah, those genres go hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah, I remember seeing footage of it. I don't know how it actually looks, but the footage I remember seeing made it look like Harry Potter as a a cover-based shooter. And I was just like, man, what are they doing with this?
Wow.
I'm just imagining... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I'm just imagining Harry Potter as the protagonist of Gears of War right now, and it's a good image, I think.
It's good.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I mean, Microsoft, if you want to kind of get a few more people interested in those Gears games, I mean,
it would work. But like, presumably, J.K. Rowling had to okay the use of her characters to be in a shooter, and I think maybe that's the point we should have realize she's going to go batshit crazy. That was the first warning. Yeah.
I don't think right. Like they weren't actually using guns. Like they were actually just casting spells from cover. Or something. I will find the video and send it to you.
I can definitely.
But I remember seeing something like that that just looked really bad.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, obviously, Voldemort is literally Hitler. Like the whole thing, all the way through. He's all about pure bloodlines. He himself is half Muggle. You know, he hides that fact from everybody. He comes to power in the shadows by people coming to support him because he kind of comes off as like, I'm here to I'm trying to protect us, like, you know, from the Muggles. Like there's so many of them and like they control everything. Like we need to be protected, and then etc. grows his power. Very racist, I'll say.
Yeah, a little tiny bit racist.
A little tiny bit.
He says some problematic things.
And then, just like Hitler, he was killed by his own rebounding spell at the end.
Yep. That is accurate.
All right, let's go ahead and vote. Luke, so everyone gets 2 votes. You cannot vote for yourself twice. Yeah, where would you like your votes to go?
Okay. I am a man of honor. I will not vote for myself. I will vote for the Templars from Dragon Age. I literally played Dragon Age 2 for the first time, like late last year when everything came back to Steam. And I will also vote for the Brotherhood of Steel.
Okay. Let's see. I am okay. So Kyle.
Every single time I've done this, I've given myself 1 vote, but this time I'm actually not going to give myself a vote. I'm going to go with the Templars from Dragon Age, and I was actually convinced I'm going to go with the Saints Row protagonist as well.
Oh, okay, nice. Got a little distribution here. Ree, where are your votes going?
I think I'm gonna continue the honor, and I am going to vote for definitely Saints Row protagonist, because I think you made a very good point, which I hadn't realised. And I'm also going to vote for Saren, because I think that's the rare example of game developers, I don't want to say like tastefully...
Yeah, tasteful Nazis.
Tasteful Nazis. I was trying not to say that, but that is the only way to say it. But like, you know what I mean? Like representing in a way that isn't a teeny tiny bit disrespectful.
Okay.
I'm saving that quote as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna clip all these out. I want everyone to say something like worthy of cancellation.
I feel like
by the
this
end
should
of
all just be posted on the Twitter, but with no context.
Okay, then I guess it's me. I too am a man of honor. And so I will. I think I am gonna give one to Dragon Age. I'm gonna give one to Todd for the Brotherhood of Steel. That was a good submission.
Imagine if Todd won and he got the final words.
I would have to like put in an audio clip of him saying it just works. Like the final word. Anyway, yeah, Templars from Dragon Age was a good poll. You did remind me of that, and they are literally just that. So you got it.
Hey.
Nice. Okay, so let's get out of here and let's move on to our main segment, Bustums. Holy shit, it's already been half an hour.
Holy fuck. Okay.
We talked about pizza too much. Okay,
let's just gloss over Wolfenstein real quick.
So, I did not know this. So Wolfenstein is one of the longest running series in like video game history. They have been around for a long time. So this company that started it was called Muse Software, founded by Ed Zarin, and with his friend Silas Warner joining like a few days after over in Baltimore, Maryland in 1978. So they originally joined... so Ed Zarin, his original idea for the company was just to make software, and he did indeed create a fairly well-used word processor called Supertext. But Silas Warner, his partner, joined with the idea of like, we're going to make computer games. And at that point, they originally developed games for the Apple II computer. You remember the sequel to Apple? Apple II?
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Why did they go back to Apple I? That's a bit weird.
Yeah, I don't know. The first... I always find the name scheme amusing in retrospect, but like, you know, the first Apple computer was literally just called the Apple, and then the second one was just called the Apple II.
It was a lot simpler back then.
Things were easier. So then they started working on the Commodore 64, the Atari, and MS-DOS later on. So they were developing for all those early game hardware systems. But yeah, so... They made, I want to say about like 7 or 8 games. All of them except for the 2 Wolfenstein games flopped horribly. So their first successful game in 1981 was Castle Wolfenstein. So they eventually were able to bring these to the IBM PC too, which was a big deal, you know. Whoa. Right? Whoa. Future. So yeah, like I said, the company was like kind of barely getting on with like Wolfenstein. Basically, like those 2 games that they made for Wolfenstein were kind of like holding the company aloft from bankruptcy. And eventually, they had 40 employees, so they were doing okay on like, you know, they had like a good number of people there. But when the game market crashed in 1983, if you remember, like everything crashed across the entire world, and they never recovered from it. They had to file for bankruptcy. Later on. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about all the old computer stuff here? Does anyone have any cool old computer anecdotes?
No. The first time I interacted with a computer, I was Windows already. I've never interacted with computers that were before that.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah, this is just... See, I felt like a boomer the other day when I was telling my sister about dial-up and how my computer used to have like a phone attached to it because it was the Wi-Fi was attached to the
internet
phone line.
The phone.
Exactly.
It's through the phone.
But I just remembered there was a time before that, and now I feel like a baby. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've some small. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I have some like small experience with MS-DOS.
Whoa.
That's like my first computer memories are using MS-DOS, but it was so long ago, and I was basically a toddler back then, so it's like the most vague memories that you could possibly have.
Yeah, so my grandmother, when she moved to America, she got a job as a computer tech, I think, for the bank. And I was like, what? What does that mean? And she was like, oh yeah, like where you punch the holes into a thing and it comes out and does calculations. That's the computer. And I was like, whoa. That was what the computer was back then, though.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you just punch holes into things to tell it to do different equations, and then it would do it, Wild. So, yeah, I don't know a lot about this period in time, but I think I am a baby, so there's no way to know. So, so finally the game Castle Wolfenstein is the first game in the series, set during World War II, focuses on an unnamed American prisoner of war who's captured in Castle Wolfenstein, and so your job is to get the plans for Operation Rheingold and escape the fortress while avoiding or killing the guards along the way. One thing I want to note is that this game was very famous for being maybe one of the first games with the ability to kill people where you could complete the whole game without killing anybody.
Oh, cool.
So there is a no-kill route very intentionally in this game.
Oh, wow.
And it was a stealth game, by the way. This was not a shooter by any means. It was a two-dimensional, like a 2D, stealth game. So it's really much more about like avoiding and disarming enemies, and then like killing them is like a last resort if you get caught, kind of a thing. So yeah, the first game sold really well. It sold 20,000 copies, which was like, hey, that's pretty good, for back then. So that was critically acclaimed, and one of the it actually won Game of the Year in 1981.
Against some vast competition, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Let's see what
Pong 2
81 hits
was in the mix. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone have any thoughts on that?
I wish I did. I just don't know.
I'm trying to like I'm trying to get us through this so we can like get to a more recent time.
Well, I was looking up Castle Wolfenstein before we started, and I guess my brain just sort of assumed that Wolfenstein 3D was the first one, because the entire thing was like, wow, this does not look like anything I was expecting it to.
No, it's very... Yeah, the original Castle Wolfenstein, if you look at it, it's like very, very minimal pixel art, and it's just like a yellow guy like moving around other guys, But yeah, so...
the Game of the Year worthy, apparently.
Game of the Year. I mean, there were 4 games that year, so I don't know what you want.
Imagine releasing a game and guaranteeing yourself a Game of the Year nomination.
There were 4 games, and one of them was the movie War Games. And like... That... God. Okay. Anyway. Has anyone seen that movie?
I have, actually.
I like it. Go watch it. Alright, so Castle Wolfenstein was made by Silas Warner, as I said, inspired by the arcade shooter Berserk, and the 1961 World War II movie Guns of Navarone, I guess. It was set in World War II during Adolf Hitler's rule as the Chancellor, and the object, like I said, get through there, blah, 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 boring. So, the second game, though, like I said, it actually was based on a real thing that happened. It was called Operation Valkyrie in real life. So, in the real life Operation Valkyrie, Klaus von Stauffenberg and other conspirators attempted to assassinate Hitler in 1944 in his field office in like a tent with a bomb hidden in a briefcase. So that coup was actually joined by thousands of people, Germans, and it was stopped. 7,000 people were arrested by the Nazis for being conspirators, and 5,000 were executed. So a lot of times people will ask, like, oh, the people in Germany were just okay with the Nazis doing all this. They weren't. They tried to stop him, and 5,000 of them were executed.
I want to say there was a movie based off Operation Valkyrie starring Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
there was.
I have it on pretty good authority that Klaus looked exactly like Tom Cruise.
Yeah, so that was sort of the first movement towards something real life related. You know, the Nazi stuff was not so present in the first game. Like, it was just kind of like, oh, you're in a castle, in a German castle. It's World War II. Get out. That was the end of it. So let's jump forward a little bit to maybe a better known time. So in 1992, id Software acquired the rights to Wolfenstein. Remember, Muse Software went under. And so I read a little funny story about how id Software, like in like '89, was like looking around and they were like, oh wow, you remember Wolfenstein? Like, that license is just like, that company's gone. And they tried to find it, and like they actually contacted Silas Warner, and like he didn't even know who owned the IP. Like, because well, like, I was also wondering that, because like they owned the IP and the company didn't exist anymore. Like, it was closed officially in 1987. Like, so it didn't exist anymore, and Silas Warner didn't own the IP either. So he was just like, I guess it's for grabs. Go for it.
I love how chill it was back then. It's just like, easier. Oh, you fancy this franchise I made? Have it, you know.
Have at it.
Like, this is before like you were owned by a million companies who would have just immediately assumed ownership as soon as you went under.
I remember it was the same deal with Windjammers when they wanted to do the re-release of it. They said that it took them forever to find out who actually owned the rights to it. And then in the end they found it was like split between two companies, so they had to make deals with both of them so they could do the re-release or something.
I remember that, like, sorry?
I was like, imagine if Todd Howard had like the reach he has now, but back then, because now he can snap his fingers and buy a franchise if he wants it. But back then, he would have just been like a kid in a sweet shop. Like, he would own literally every video game. We used to get him back in time, and so he can own every single franchise. I would love that future for us. Yeah.
So this game, actually, Wolfenstein 3D, was created by id Software, who was, later would go on to create Doom. But at that time, they were known as the makers of Commander Keen, and they acquired the license from nobody, but Silas Warner kind of gave them his blessing and was like, please continue the franchise. I'd love to see that. So this game was a huge hit. It sold very well, 200,000 copies, which for 1992 was like a big deal. That was a lot of copies sold. And it won numerous Game of the Year awards, and also this was the introduction of our protagonist, BJ Blazkowicz, who would continue to be the protagonist for the rest of the franchise. So this was not a sequel to the previous games. It was just kind of like inspired by the classic Castle Wolfenstein on the box, So they also, interesting thing about this, there was a thing called the Spear of Destiny, which was a DLC, but like it was back before the internet, so they had they put out like a cheap standalone disc in the stores, which was a DLC for, so like you had to like have like, Wolfenstein already, like Wolfenstein 3D, but like if you went and bought the disc, then you could just like put that in, and then like now you have a DLC expansion. It's like, great.
I think it was the same deal for Doom. Doom had like 3 episodes, so they had to put the episodes on different discs.
Yeah. So this game was very big and is credited as the first true first-person shooter. I'm sure that there were some other things like that before, but this was kind of this is kind of widely known as like creating the genre. Doom is often miscredited as being like the father of first-person shooters, when like the truth is it like popularized the franchise, I guess, or popularized the idea. If anyone's curious, though, I remember the original Doom sold 2 million copies, which is, if you look at how Wolfenstein 3D sold 200,000 copies, so Doom sold 10 times better than it, so it had a lot bigger of a reach, kind of identifying itself as, this is first-person shooters.
Yeah, I think it's more like Wolfenstein put the genre on the map and showed that it could do well. And Doom was like...
Yeah, Doom like took it and ran with it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, like, before we did this episode, my dad was a massive gamer back in the day. So I said, like, oh, you must have played Wolfenstein. And even though he was a massive gamer back then, he said, like, no, I played Doom, and then I was vaguely aware of Wolfenstein. So sad. I don't think... Yeah, so it obviously has this lasting legacy because of what it's done to the genre. But, yeah, unfortunately it popularized something, and then something else came along.
Which is fine. I mean, like, id Software, of course, would create Doom on their own and outdo themselves after this, so... worth noting, John Carmack was the director of this game. He like, shows up a lot more in the future of Wolfenstein's. future of the Wolfenstein franchise. I have a quote. Romero wanted... so Romero was like the level designer here. He was like one of the producers. Romero wanted the goal to be to mow down Nazis with the suspense of storming a Nazi bunker full of SS soldiers and Hitler himself, as well as dogs, blood like you never see in games, and straightforward lethal weapons. So he was like very much like... This was not a stealth game anymore. This was very much, let's mow down these fucking Nazis.
Yeah.
I just love this idea that he rocked up to the meeting like, oh, what are we going to make the game about? Yeah, we're just going to fucking kill a load of Nazis. And they were like, hey, cool. And they got to their desks and they started working, you know?
And then one guy drew a Nazi hat and a guy came over and said, that looks good. Let's just slide it into the computer.
Kind of seems like he's anti-dog, though.
Yeah, it does seem
specifically
really
just mentions dogs. Yeah, we're gonna kill those dogs.
Yeah, it's like I want to kill dogs. I mean, like
I've
never seen John Romero and Neil Druckmann in the same room at the same time. So
I do choose to believe that. I mean, going on a slight little Doom tangent, I do choose to believe that the protagonist of Doom is also B.J. Blazkowicz, because it's basically the same exact picture.
I want to say in the old Wolfenstein timeline that one of the spin-off like mobile RPG games implies that the Doom guy is a descendant of Blazkowicz.
Ah, I mean that would do.
That's like the old Wolfenstein timeline before the reboots.
Yeah. So this was the first establishing of a timeline because there wasn't really a story to the first two games back in the early '80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, so. This at this point, id Software does own the license to Wolfenstein because they just kind of grabbed it and like filed the necessary paperwork and was like, all right, this is our thing. So then Activision and Grey Matter Interactive was the studio licensed out from id Software the license for Wolfenstein, and they made the next game in the series, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and then. Another company called Splash Damage, again for Activision, made a direct sequel to that called Enemy Territory, and that was in 2003. So those two games are kind of together in one timeline. I don't know, does anyone know anything about those two games?
I know Enemy Territory was a multiplayer game that was very popular for a while.
Yeah. People still remember that one. Was that... Wait, 2003, what system was that? That didn't have online, did it?
I think it was just PC, but they made a Quake one as well, a Quake Enemy Territory that I think did okay. But I remember, like, if you look up Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, it was very popular at the time.
Yeah,
for quite a while.
I have heard of it before, like, several times, so... So, they brought, in 2008, we got Wolfenstein RPG, which is, like, the mobile, weird one that we had talked about. Developed by EA, and they had John Carmack return to the series, who did Wolfenstein 3D, to make a new game. So that one did okay. I think people were kind of... At this point, people like kind of are like, okay, like they just keep shitting out another one of these every 2 years, you know? And then in the next year, in 2009, a loose sequel to Return to Castle Wolfenstein was made as a reboot. So... Yeah, I don't know. There's basically like, I think the thing that I've noticed with this is like, this IP was passed around to so many different people, and so many different people had different ideas of what to do with it, to the point where like, it almost feels like the Wolfenstein IP doesn't mean anything, you know?
Yeah, it's just like...
To be honest, it wasn't really that big until the big relaunch under Machine Games.
Yeah,
Wolfenstein was kind of just an IP that occasionally made games every so often. It didn't really get big until the New Order.
Yeah.
I did play Return to Castle Wolfenstein. That's actually the most recent one that I've played.
Tell me about it.
And it actually kind of holds up pretty well, like the gameplay does. The graphics don't really, but I mean it's still pretty fun, and it's still a pretty interesting story. It delves into more of like the supernatural beliefs of the Nazis, and I don't know. It was pretty fun. I was just disappointed that I didn't get to kill Mecha Hitler at the end.
Yeah, I know they put him right in front of you and then they take him away. So I just want to give everyone an idea of how like bonkers the games kind of like have become story wise. Like here's the description of that game. An agent for the fictional Office of Secret Actions, William B.J. Blazkowicz, discovers an unnatural medallion containing supernatural powers while on a mission on a German battleship. Learning the Nazis had begun digging deep into crystal mines to obtain more of the very same medallion Blazkowicz found, the OSA sends their operative into the fictional town of Eisenstadt, which the Nazis have taken complete control of in order to excavate rare Knockstone crystals necessary to access the Black Sun dimension.
Well, that's a weekend and a half, isn't it? I mean...
What?
It does. It gets a little out there.
I want to say, that Wolfenstein is canon to the current universe as well, to the New Order and stuff.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's good to know.
Because one of the characters in that is Caroline Becker, who's later a major role in New Order.
No,
I think Return to Castle Wolfenstein might be part of that canon as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I like that. So this is like, it is historical fiction. It does generally tackle an idea of a timeline where like the Nazis won the war or something like that, but it also is like kind of very wacky. It kind of reminds me of like Metal Gear Solid in that like most of it seems very like grounded and set to earth, and then like, you know, a fire demon will like ride a fire horse out of the sky and like attack you while you're invading like a base in Afghanistan.
Yeah, that's like the old blood delves into the supernatural side of Wolfenstein after New Order didn't. I don't think New Colossus does either, but
yeah,
I've played a lot of Wolfenstein recently, so I remember a good chunk of it fairly well.
Member.
we come here to member. That's basically the whole description of the podcast. But I just like how I love a series that can do shit like this and it still feels tonally consistent somehow.
Yeah.
It works. In the words of Todd Howard, it just works.
It does just work. And speaking of Todd Howard, in 2010, Bethesda does buy the rights to... So, interestingly, they bought id Software in 2010, and by buying id Software, they also bought the rights to the Wolfenstein IP, because they owned it at that point. So, so Machine Games is interesting. I did a little looking into them. So Machine Games was founded in Uppsala, Sweden, in 2009 by 7 former employees of a giant studio called Starbreeze Studios. There were like several hundred people working at that place. It was a big place, but it was becoming very commercialized, and in much the same way that like EA was formed. They were like, we're going to make our own indie company, you know, we're going to do real games. And they like left, right? And they struggled for about a year. They apparently did dozens of pitches to dozens of different publishers and got literally nothing. Like, even like they actually had 3 or 4 different pitches to Bethesda for different games, and they got rejected on all of them. And so, I think 2 of the guys left the company in that first year too. So there were just 5 of them basically. They finally found a project, because Bethesda was like, you guys are so persistent and you guys have a lot of spirit. We think that we think that like we want you to work on something and have a little more direction on it, like rather than one of your original ideas. So we want you to work on the new Wolfenstein game for us. And they were like very ecstatic about it. They created like a pitch and like a little demo and everything. And when they brought it to Bethesda, Bethesda loved it so much that they bought Machine Games and said like, you guys, like, we love what you do here. We love your spirit. We love your ambition. We're keeping you on forever. And that was like a huge blessing for these people, because they were, like I said, very much struggling. They were actually, let me read this part here. So Jens Matthijs became the creative director. I'm going to try to say all these right. I'm just guessing for a lot of it. While Jörg Gustafsson became the managing director. So the 2 guys who left, Magnus Hogdahl and Michael Wynn, left shortly for personal reasons, but it's because they had no money. And so for the first 1.5 years, they like brainstormed all these ideas, like I said, and then they actually ran out of funds at one point, and they were like talking about selling their homes to like keep the studio going, because that's like how bad it was. But yeah, like I said, that was a huge deal when they got hired. Well, they got bought by Bethesda, and I've heard the same story from Arcane. Like, you know, Arcane was a little similar, except that they had like, because Arcane Studios had like 3 canceled projects in a row, like where first for Valve, and then for like Steven Spielberg, and then for another publisher, I can't remember. Like, they made an entire game, and then the game got canceled right at the end. So like, I don't know if anyone knows this, like, but Arcane Studios didn't release a game for 11 years. because they kept making games and then they kept getting canceled by the publisher when they were almost done. But and then they got bought by Bethesda, and they were so happy they just like fucking like started sob. They said they were in a diner when they found it, and they all just started sobbing and hugging each other in the diner. Like,
for fuck's sake, but can Bethesda please stop being so bloody charming?
Yeah, see,
it's hard to criticize them because I just want to pinch.
But like, I have to balance that with like remembering the horse armor.
Yeah, exactly. It's just they're such an anomaly of a company because
it's very weird.
I don't know how they're still
I think this outweighs the horse armor a little bit, though.
Yeah, like they do a good job like finding these companies that like have potential and like giving them the money to do so. So like they got bought by Bethesda, and Bethesda said like, we're gonna give you enough money to hire 50 people, create a full studio, and we want you to create a new Wolfenstein timeline, like a new reboot the franchise. And so, like I said, they were able to do that and create the New Order. So yeah, we're on the one that I think most people know about now. So Wolfenstein: The New Order came out in 2014. That was it was a pretty big hit. Like, it got universal critical acclaim, sold pretty well. Yeah. So Luke, why don't you tell us a little bit about that game?
So the thing with New Order was I was barely paying attention to it, and then suddenly the embargo dropped, and everyone's going, "This is an amazing game. This is an unbelievably good game." And I'm like, "Huh." And I had money at the time. I don't think there was any other big releases around then, so I thought, screw it. I want to kill Nazis. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And just like, it's just really surprisingly clever. And that, first of all, it's a great shooter, but it does a surprisingly good amount of world building because it's alternate history. So it starts off in 1946. The war's still going in this timeline. The Germans are winning, and they're making Blazkowicz is involved in a desperate like Hail Mary mission to potentially stop the Germans. It goes wrong. He gets a head full of metal and ends up sitting in like some nursing home or hospital for like 20 years.
Yeah, maybe. It's 14 years, I think, yeah.
14 years, and then suddenly wakes up and immediately starts murdering more Nazis. Like he hasn't been in a coma for 14 years.
Only after he gets up. And the two people who have been taking care of him, the psychiatrists, the husband and wife couple who own this like mental facility. By the way, I just started playing the New Order like 5 or 6 days ago, and I'm most of the way through it now. I'm very much enjoying it. But yeah, he and then the nurse who's like taking care of him is their daughter, and the Nazis come in and they kill all these what am I trying to say, like these people are not mentally well.
Everyone in there.
Yeah. And the Nazis were sort of known for not loving the mentally ill, I'll say.
Were the Nazis known for loving anything?
They were not a fan.
Racism.
Yeah.
Other Nazis, they loved them.
They did love other Nazis.
True.
So yeah, like BJ is suddenly after 14 years of not moving is first of all extremely muscular, still very built.
I like to imagine that he was still basically
out.
Being a power lifter the entire time. He's just unaware of what he's doing.
Yeah, and then like immediately he just gets like a bunch of big guns, kills all these Nazis and robots, like destroys a tank, and he and the hot nurse like get away, and then they just like fucking bang it out in a train, and then he kills more Nazis, and it's like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Living their life.
Yeah, so the point of the story is that like BJ is trying to rescue his old compatriots, specifically after 14 years of being in prison. They're like, I knew you, son of a bitch. I knew you weren't dead. I was like, he was gone for 14 years. Like, yeah. So Kyle, what were your thoughts on this game? I know you played this one.
I had a really good time playing this game. It's like the story just sort of like clicked with me, and of course, killing Nazis is just always a super fun time. But me being like a quote-unquote gamer, obviously, enjoyed playing
Capital
a whole bunch.
G.
Yeah, but I specifically remember playing this downstairs at my old house in Houston, and like of course I'm just sitting there enjoying the story and enjoying killing Nazis and stuff. But I put it down to go into the kitchen, and my dad was like around the corner in the kitchen, just like watching me play. So I think it's like a story
very dad move.
It's a story that can click with multiple generations, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So after that, there was a prequel standalone, which was kind of a shorter game called The Old Blood, which was actually a remake of the game Return to Castle Wolfenstein. After that, again, Wolfenstein 2 followed in 2017, still from Machine Games. They made all of these. And released to middling sales, but like very big critical acclaim. So Luke, you've played Wolfenstein 2, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that one.
Here in the UK, they sold a special edition of it that came with a Terribility action figure for the same price as a regular copy. So I was just like, well, I might as well. It's the same price, and I was also very excited for it because I enjoyed the previous Wolfenstein games since this new version. I don't think New Colossus is as good as New Order, but it's still got a lot of great ideas. I think it leans into the craziness a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can openly talk spoilers, right?
I don't know if there's are there spoilers for... I don't know anything about the
There's
New
one thing I want to mention, but it might be kind of spoilerish,
sure.
but...
It's okay. If it's yeah, go for it.
So there's a scene where Blazkowicz literally gets beheaded.
Oh, that's a bit of a spoiler, yeah. Oh, God.
But the thing is,
wasn't expecting that.
The rest of the resistance were preparing for it and have an operation where they recover his head quickly and then put it onto the body of a super soldier clone body they stole during an earlier heist or an earlier mission. So then Blazkowicz, and then he just miraculously survives it, and now he's got this brand new super soldier body. And I just thought this game's so ridiculous, but I kind of love it.
I mean,
like the second one, in general, I don't think in terms of story or structure it's as good as the New Order, but I still really enjoyed a lot of it.
Yeah.
There were some scenes in it really good, like you meet his dad, and like from the start of the game there's like flashbacks that show his dad was abusive and racist. Like his mum was Jewish, I think she was German and Jewish. Mm-hmm. So like his dad was racist to his wife. He beat BJ a lot. And then there's a later scene where you find your dad again and you just actually fuck him up with a hatchet.
Ooh.
Which is really brutal, but also like the game does such a good job of just painting him as a fucking asshole that he deserves it. A game has one of my favourite lines I've ever heard in a video game, where the first time you acquire the hatchet, but BJ says there's a lot of things you can do with a Nazi and a hatchet. And there's so many hatchet kills in that game you can do. Like it becomes your stealth weapon basically. So whenever you do stealth takedowns, it usually involves the hatchet getting lodged in the Nazi in some way. I do love what happens at the very end of the game. Like it's not really a massive spoiler, but the execution of the ending is very good. I think in terms of setting. Can I say spoilers?
Yeah, go for it.
So the ending of the game involves you. I can't remember what her name is. This German woman who has been essentially sort of the main antagonist of the game. You ambush her while she's doing a TV interview, and basically slam the hatchet into her head on live television in that world. Ooh. Then Blazkowicz like twists it or something to split her head wide open, and after that point, whichever of your World War II buddies you saved from the start of New Order, they give a speech calling for the rebellion. And I know for a fact the younger soldier, I can't remember what his name is. It's been a while since
Wyatt,
I played Wolfenstein.
I think.
Wyatt. He gives a really beautiful speech if he's your like guy who's in the game. Essentially calling for revolution in America. Finally kick the fucking Nazis out. Also, one great thing that the New Colossus does is you get to fuck up KKK in it. There is a mission where you see them, but if you go back and do the side mission version of it, you literally just get to tear through guys in hoods and stuff with a shotgun. It's really fun. You just blast through them.
Sounds very satisfying.
Yeah. It does sound good.
It's one thing that made me come to... I'm not necessarily the biggest Bethesda fan, but one thing about the New Colossus I really respect is that they made no bare bones about defending Nazis in the marketing. They were more than happy to just piss them off. I remember, I think it was Tim Hines. Is that his name?
Pete Hines.
Pete Hines, that's it. So he was doing an interview about the so-called controversial marketing, anti-Nazi marketing, and he literally said, someone was like, "You think you're kicking a bit of a hornet's nest?" And he just goes, "Well, it's a hornet's nest full of Nazis, so fuck them."
Yeah.
I just like, oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for just not bowing, just absolutely telling Nazis to fuck off.
Oh god, absolutely. I mean, because it pisses me off beyond belief that every fucking E3 that there's anything about Wolfenstein, you hear the same crowd say, "Oh, it's too political." Especially
I remember there was they used some hashtags that were sort of vaguely alluding to Trump stuff as well, like "Not My America" and "Make America Nazi Free" or something.
They really rode that. And, like, I will say, like, contradiction to that is, like, Ubisoft very mildly in Far Cry 5, like, oh, I don't want to say anything too mean about these people.
Ubisoft's "our games are apolitical" stance is complete cowardly bullshit. Far Cry 5 could have been so good.
It could have been amazing.
Bunch of cowards about it. If they fully delved into dealing with white nationalism, Christian extremism, that game could have been fucking incredible, but they completely bailed.
Sorry, Rhea, I interrupted you. I don't want you to lose your thought. I have another thing, though. Go on.
I think I was just saying, in general, that pisses me off beyond belief. God, what's the game that just sprung to mind? I mean, Ubisoft are obviously one of the worst offenders for it, but, like, really what you've got to do is appreciate that when you... And this is getting back to, you know, respectful Nazism again. You have to appreciate that Nazism still has real world consequences. You can't, and this is what they like to do. They like to lock it in a video game and say, "Hey, it's so cool that we defeated that, and it's not a problem anymore, guys." Right? And the thing is, you have to accept that no, it has echoes today, and you are going to piss those people off. And you have to revel in pissing those people off. And that's what I'm so glad that Wolfenstein's a thing, because it's the only series on the market where I think the team behind it are completely okay with that. I mean, you have oh god, the game that came to mind, Detroit Become Human. Holy shit, who's the guy that does those games?
David Cage.
He is a massive coward because
I almost blamed John Cage, the composer from the 1990s.
I mean, you say coward, I also say bad writer of video games.
Yes, he is also just a bad writer in general, but I
played Heavy Rain, and nope, that game sucks ass. It so boring. It
really does. He will take stuff from real life, like he will quote Martin Luther King in his video game, and then say, "Yeah, I am not saying anything politically here," and it's just like, fuck's sake, he's neutering his own message. Like
this game where I'm blatantly mimicking the civil rights movement, but with androids instead of people of color. It's not political at all, though.
It's not political because they're white, so therefore it's not, and I'm not going to say anything about anything.
So one thing I do want to say, I don't know if you've heard this, but like I think this was like something like a staffer or aide, whatever, said at Ubisoft at some point. Like somebody tangentially connected to them was like, when we announced Far Cry 5, like it was about white nationalism, but they got so afraid of the backlash that they made a bunch of like black people join the cult to make it like a non-ethnic cult.
If they stuck to that game could have been so good.
I know.
I really would have loved to have seen them do that in that game. But instead they just went with cheap religious stereotypes that are boring and predictable.
All right,
God,
so
I hate Far Cry 5. Sorry.
Yeah. I was very middling for me. But yeah, it's not great. Okay, so Machine Games and Arcane Studios then collaborated on and co-produced Wolfenstein Youngblood, which is a sequel set 20 years after Wolfenstein 2. So this stars B.J. Blazkowicz's twin daughters, Jessica and Sophia, and they head out on a mission to rescue their dad. It was built from the ground up for fully co-op. So one thing about this game, like, first of all, I think we probably all have heard this, like, it was critically panned and it sold very badly. People did not like this. Even people who are massive fans of the franchise were like, I don't want to sit through this.
I have not played it, but I've seen the negative reception and...
Yeah, it seemed to be pretty universal. I don't think I've seen a lot of good stuff about it. I think I did some digging into it, and I think that from what I understand, so both Jörg Gustafsson from Machine Games and Dinga Bakaba from I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right, from Arcane Studios, the studio heads for both places, both co-directed this game with their individual studios at the same time. I don't know why Bethesda elected to do it this way, but there seems to have been a lot of dissonance between the game that Arcane wanted to make, where, you know, they wanted to make an immersive sim kind of game like their other ones, and Machine Games was kind of trying to make a straight first-person shooter, and the two elements didn't end up merging right. They kind of, I think it was really development issues that led it to be this way, and I mean, these things happen. I don't know that having two studios like co-produce a game like that was a great idea. I don't know. It just never found an identity. Is basically what it was. But that's too bad. I guess it does happen. But and then have you done any? Do you know anything about Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, the VR game?
I've heard it's not great.
I've heard it's okay. I think that VR games also have a lower threshold though, so it's probably good in that context.
Yep. Also, I just wanted to mention another thing that in the new Colossus, one thing I really love is the portrayal of Hitler in that game. Because usually, when you have games where you have someone who has ultimate power, they are very calm, they are well dressed, and often speak in a sort of respectful but sinister tone. Whereas when you meet Hitler in the new Colossus, he is just a child. He is a man who has had absolute power for so long that he just does whatever he wants. And like the meeting where you see him, he's clearly sickly, because I think it's implied that in a previous mission before Wolfenstein, like New Order's events, Blazkowicz tried to poison him and was partially effective in that. So like he's shown as this sickly, frail old man who just has no respect for anyone around him. And I think it's really, really good in the sense that because he's so used to absolute power, he just does whatever he wants and no one ever questions it. Like he literally, like he throws up, he also pisses in a bucket in front of Blazkowicz.
I love that.
Because the scene in question is you go to an audition to play Blazkowicz in a movie, and you Hitler wanders in for some reason, I can't remember why, but in front of you and the other actors who are auditioning for this role, you just see him like speak to everyone like shit. He orders somebody to get a bucket so he can take a piss, and just generally he comes off as a man who is, because nobody will ever tell him no, he does whatever the hell he wants, and he's so used to it that he doesn't realise how horrible he comes off as just in that kind of behaviour. Let alone the fact that obviously he's Hitler and the Nazis, but just like
it sounds like a certain other world leader I could name, but I won't because I'm Ubisoft.
I mean, that's the thing. Like people like to portray Hitler as just like this absolute genius mastermind, but the thing is, from what I know about history, he was actually just a fucking like child most of the time, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, and I feel like we've got this perception now in history and in a lot of video games depictions of Nazis that they were just always like these military masterminds. But actually, I read a while ago that in meetings, like strategic meetings, Hitler was so terrible at planning that towards the end they would let him do his little speech where he tells everyone what to do, and then they'd meet in a different room without him and talk about the actual plan. And like people would laugh at him because he
similar to
it sounds really similar to a different other.
Exactly, it's so similar, and I think that's why we've created this myth of him just being like stoic and an evil genius, because the reality that he was a fucking idiot is uncomfortably close to sort of where we're at now, in that you've got like an absolutely insanely dangerous idiot in charge, because he was obviously absolutely dangerous. But I like that Wolfenstein, it takes, it relishes in embarrassing the shit out of him. It sort of reminds me of Jojo Rabbit when Taika Waititi was asked, like, oh, did you do any research for the role? And he's like, nah, fuck that guy. I'm not going to research the role. And just like, I remember some Nazis got mad because they depict him smoking, and they were like, our glorious leader never smoked. And he was like, fuck you, I'll do what I want. It's Hitler. So I just sort of like that vibe.
I think what we're getting to is that meme video of like what was that movie where like Hitler is like screaming and they like subtitle it different stuff for a meme.
Oh, that one, yeah.
I'm not sure what
that was like an accurate portrayal of him though.
That was, like no one took him seriously around him, but he had absolute power because of his like charisma and speeches that they just sort of reluctantly put up with him. And Nazis hate realizing that
I'm getting like a very uncomfortable remembering right now. So
the movie is Downfall.
Downfall, okay.
I've never heard the name, but I know that scene.
Yeah,
I think everyone knows that scene.
I hate that this is like so similar to fucking Trump. Like it just boggles my mind.
I mean, I also can kind of see that in Johnson in the.
Oh my god, absolutely.
He's an idiot, but there are people that like him.
You don't understand. It's so bad over here. We wish we had Boris Johnson.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Are you serious?
He's like a pinch smarter.
Trump's
so that's
an idiot, but he was surrounded by competent people. The Tories are just consistently incompetent at everything they do.
Their entire cabinet has one brain cell between them. They're so painfully incompetent. So there is not a single thing in this country being run well now. And also, we don't have the state system. So when the government sucks, when the government sucks, we all feel it.
Everyone gets fucked. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh god, I wish we had.
Like, yeah, like I've said that before. Like, you know, people from other countries, it doesn't work the same way here. Like, who the president is doesn't have any sort of effect on our day-to-day life here because the state government takes care of 99% of what we do. You know, but like,
God, I wish that was us.
Yeah.
I just wish the Tories weren't in power more than anything.
Yeah. Oh,
everyone
boy.
Go vote? Question mark, please.
No, we've got like another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I know.
In 2024, guys, just take this energy from this podcast.
That's going to be our year.
Carry it on. We'll reshare this episode in.
We'll be really influential in that election. I'm going to say it right now.
We will. It's going to be the GameBusters podcast election.
Before we move on, I want to talk a little bit about the censorship of this game in Germany. So I don't know if you guys know about this. In Germany, it is pretty much impossible to release any sort of media with any sort of thing acknowledging that the Nazis like existed or Hitler was real. They very much don't want to hear about it. And so if for movies and TV shows, there is a review board in Germany that is a government entity that reviews things that are submitted and says like, okay, this is a historical, factual telling of what happened, and also makes everyone know that Nazis are bad. Like, the Nazis get killed, they're stupid or incompetent, they're portrayed as shitty in this. Like, this is good. So there is a lot of censorship already with anything related to Nazis. So the Wolfenstein games, the first one to come out in Germany was The New Order. Unfortunately, that and The New Colossus both underwent so much censorship that in order to be released, they had to remove all Nazi imagery and language mentioning the Nazis or the Third Reich, all references to Nazi Germany. They even removed Hitler's mustache, and they just called him the Chancellor.
I can't believe they even bothered. I mean,
I know, right? Why would they even bother to release the game? I love that they just took Hitler's mustache off and was like, no, this is Fred. You know, the Chancellor.
This is obviously not the same guy. He doesn't have the mustache.
Yeah, so, and they also only released the German dubs. Like, the German version only has the German dub because every other, like, dub had references to anything related to Nazis. So they had to remake an entire game. Anyway, so, this was something. So in 2019, Bethesda actually appealed to the German government and said, hey, you guys have a review process for, admitting movies and TV shows with Nazi imagery. Like, can you put our games under that same, review process? Just merge that into it. And they passed a national law. The Bundestag actually did pass a law and created a board to review games in the same manner. And Bethesda submitted both Wolfenstein Youngblood and Cyberpilot to that board, and were cleared for takeoff on both of those. Interestingly, they are both, by the way, those two games. So I guess Youngblood came out first, but is the first game in Germany ever to be approved to feature Nazi imagery or even acknowledge the Third Reich in any way. So all retailers actually refused to sell the uncensored version. Every single one of them.
Wait, even after it was approved for sale?
Yes.
My god.
So the uncensored German version of both games, if you're in Germany, the only way to get the uncensored version is on Steam.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was very shocked to hear that.
That's a lot more complicated than I was expecting.
Yeah, I don't think I know. Maybe if anyone's German who's listening, I don't know if we have any German audience, but if you could give us some sort of an explanation as to like the culture explanation of why retailers would be so afraid to carry this game, like I would love to hear it. I don't know what the situation is there. I studied abroad in Germany for a summer when I was in college, and like one thing they told me when I was heading there was like, do not mention the Nazis, do not mention Hitler. He wasn't real. Like,
there's a really famous episode of a sitcom here in the UK called Fawlty Towers, which does a bunch of stuff about Nazis.
Oh
where, like,
god, no, I know that
a
episode.
German guy comes in, and then the main character gets like a massive head wound and concussion, and then he's like just. It's really goddamn funny, but nowadays it gets talked about in a more controversial tone. I think it's hilarious, an hilarious episode.
All right, let's. We're running pretty low on time, so just want to say, killing Nazis is cool and it is good for you. Does anyone have any thoughts on the Indiana Jones game coming up from Machine Games? How that might translate from this?
I'd like to be optimistic about it.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty optimistic.
They've done a good job of making games where you get to fuck up Nazis. So even though obviously you won't be able to do it as violently as you can in Wolfenstein. I don't know. I'm going to remain optimistic. I mean,
I think it'll be pretty good.
Respawn went from making Titanfall to making a Star Wars game that people seem to like a bunch. So
yeah, that's true. Okay, so are there enough ghosts?
Never. That's.
I
don't think there. Are there any ghosts in these games?
I have no idea. I don't think
There's
so.
not ghosts, but they've done like zombies and other supernatural stuff in some of them.
Okay, what kind of ghost do we need? Like, what ghost would you summon to sort of beat up Hitler?
I was thinking like Nazi ghosts that you can kill, but I guess that's another.
I want a fucking Lord of the Rings ghost
you.
army.
Yeah. Maybe if like an alternate future thing, you can summon the ghosts of those
Abraham
who died.
Lincoln,
yeah, or those who died in World War II or something to come help you.
Oh shit, that'd be cool. All right, let's get out of here. So we're gonna try to get through this quickly, but this is maybe, and I'll say this lightly, this is maybe my favorite game idea I have ever had for us to do here.
It has been fun.
Yes. This is called Operation X-Men. The reason, this is sort of a little tribute to World War II operations. What I have here, I'm going to name some things. I'm going to give you a single word. And you are going to tell me, is this thing I've named a World War II allied military operation? Is it an X-Men? Or is it both?
Okay.
Is there a great deal of overlap?
There is a lot more overlap than I had anticipated.
Oh god.
All right, let's start a little easier here. Or nope, never mind. Let's shuffle it. All right. Okay. Overlord.
I'm gonna say
both.
I'm gonna say just World War II.
My main reason is I remember there was that movie. And then Overlord just sounds like it would be the name of an X-Men supervillain or something.
It is an X-Men supervillain, but it is also a British military operation. Overlord, United States, United Kingdom, and France, a mission, invasion of Normandy, France. So that was Operation Overlord. Part of Operation Overlord was D-Day. That was like one aspect of it. So
y'all are about to learn that my X-Men knowledge is severely lacking.
Well, I hope your World War II knowledge makes up for it. How do you feel about Warpath?
Warpath?
I'm going to say X-Men villain. Or X-Men. Something X-Men.
I'm just going to say World War II.
Yeah, I'm going to say World War II also.
That is just an X-Men.
Yeah!
Oh. Nice.
Warpath just seems too on the nose for an operation.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, how about this one? Paperclip.
Okay, that's got to just be.
Yeah, I think that was just World War II.
World War II.
I'm just gonna guess just World War II for all of these, apparently.
Okay, great. No, this one is just World War II. 1945, United States capture of scientists, technical, and German rocketry. Originally was called Operation Overcast, but they changed the name because Paperclip was cooler.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
I mean, it's got X-Men ties because Magneto could like get one and do something with it. So.
Yeah, Magneto does have the power to pick up a paperclip.
Okay, but he can do it with his mind.
How do you guys feel about Dracula?
Dracula,
I'm gonna say
both, maybe?
I'm gonna say X-Men.
I'm going to say World War II.
Ooh.
It was both.
Hey.
Yeah. Dracula was a United Kingdom British amphibious assault on Rangoon, Burma.
I'm sorry, when you said amphibious assault, like, I immediately thought they fucking created fish people. And that's immediately what my mind went with.
It was a fish people assault on Rangoon, Burma. So yeah, Dracula is also an X-Men villain. Just he's in there. I checked.
What a creative name he came up with.
Yeah. I think it might. It's not even the. It's not like it's just Dracula. It's like a guy calling himself Dracula. You know. All right. How about Havoc?
All right. No, that's an X-Men.
Okay.
No, it's
yeah,
gotta
I'm
be
definitely
just
certain
an
that's an
X-Men.
X-Men.
Yeah,
I'm going to say just X-Men as well.
I'm gonna say both.
It's just an X-Men. How about Jericho?
Oh.
World War II.
Both?
Yeah, I'm going to say World War II.
It is World War II. That's just an operation.
It's
Nice.
the second one I've gotten right so far, so
yeah, man.
feeling
That was
pretty
an
good.
air raid on the Amiens prison to release French resistance prisoners. How about Karma?
I'm gonna say both.
Yeah, both.
Nope, just an X-Men. No Operation Karma. How about Cannonball?
Shit. Okay,
Definitely
just
an
an
X-Men.
X-Men. Just an X-Men, I think.
I'm gonna go.
I'm
I'm gonna go both on that one.
They
I'm
went
going to
just
say
an
just an
X-Men.
X-Men. Okay.
Just an X-Men. You were right, Luke. Not you, Kyle. You were not right. How about Cerberus?
Both?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Nope, just an operation. No Cerberus.
That's such a cool
I can't
X-Men
believe
name.
that.
I
I can't
know!
believe there's not an X-Men named Cerberus.
Right? This was in 1942, a breakout of German capital ships from Brest, later dubbed the Channel Dash. I like the Channel Dash. How about... Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Backfire.
I would not
Just
call an
an
operation that. 'Cause you're just
operation,
asking. You're just... But the thing is, you're asking for trouble if you call your own operation Backfire. Like, I don't know. It
I'm
seems
gonna
like...
say both.
You haven't got... I'm going to say just X-Men.
That one's just an operation, actually.
Oh,
that
shit.
was when the British captured a bunch of rockets.
I hate this game.
How cool is it that they line up so well? How do you feel about Batman?
Wait, what?
Batman.
Batman?
Operation.
It's
Well, it
got
can't
to be
be
just an
an
operation.
X-Men.
Yeah, exactly.
DC, wouldn't they? So
It
I
is just
assume
an operation. Yes, Operation Batman took place in 1942. It was a UK commando raid near Cherbourg in France.
Amazing. What a name.
I know you wouldn't think it was an X-Men, but I just kind of wanted to acknowledge that Operation Batman did happen.
That did
Imagine
exist.
being a veteran of Operation Batman and telling
I
your own
would,
kids
you know,
about
I would
that.
wear that with pride. I think.
I'd
I
never
would
shut
too.
up about it. I'd never,
yeah.
ever stop talking about it.
How about Colossus?
That's
Both.
just an
I'm going to say
X-Men.
both. Colossus is definitely an X-Men.
Yeah, that is both. 1941 UK operation on February 10th, which was a commando raid on Tragino Aqueduct near Italy.
Second game is called
alright.
The New Colossus.
Yeah, that's the only reason that I
That's
assumed
why
that it was
I
also
thought-
World
I
War
know-
II.
I knew it was an
Bit of a
X-Men.
Oh.
So
Is
I
that?
thought-
Is that why they call it that? It's like they're
I think
doing,
it's a
like...
poem as well or something.
Okay. Okay, and last one, Jubilee.
I mean,
Okay,
Jubilee
both.
means it's definitely got to be an operation.
But then
I'm
there's
going to
also
say both as well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
both.
Yep, that is both. Is a UK-Canada joint operation, a repelled raid on Dieppe. Dieppe.
I'm sure that's how it's meant to be pronounced. Yeah.
Yep.
With
Let's
the
hear
voice
that. Let's
and
hear that one
everything.
again, Nirav.
Dieppe. It's Dieppe. I don't really know what it should be.
Dippe, maybe.
Dippe?
Dippe. Is it an accented E?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's not Dippe then.
All right. So let's close out. Thank you to Todd Howard, but actually this time.
Thank you, Todd.
Again,
Oh, he's here,
Thanks for
so we can
grabbing
just
this.
thank him in person. Yeah. thank
Yeah,
Yeah, Todd, do you want to
Yeah.
give a few
Cool,
words?
dude.
with
Okay.
16 times the distance.
Todd, you can't make promises like that. You know what happens.
Distant weather systems.
But for your sake, I
all
hope
right.
this doesn't get a lot of views, Todd. Otherwise, you're going to have hell to pay.
Yeah. Which, like, I don't know. By the way, I mean, he didn't lie about those things. They were real. It just, like, they just made a map and didn't put a video game in it, is the problem. All right. So, yeah, you can find us on GameLuster.com. You can find us on YouTube at GameLuster as well. Find us on Twitter at GameBustersPod. And please hit up the Apple Store or Google Podcast or wherever you get your stuff and, give us a good review. So thank you to our guests, Luke and Kyle. So, Luke, you have anything you want to plug quickly?
I'm hoping I can finally get a Yakuza 0 video I've been working on for ages done soon.
Okay.
I recorded everything in October, so hopefully that'll be on GameLuster soon.
It's in the making.
It's been in the making for too long.
Kyle, how are you feeling? What are you working on right now?
I wouldn't really say I'm working on anything, but you can find me on Twitter at Kyle Drew a Picture with no E on the end.
Because
I tweet so many good things on that. Spoiler alert.
That's true.
No, I don't. But okay.
Yeah, it's good content. I'm still subscribed.
You can see my
That's your ring endorsement.
You can see my once every 2 weeks tweet.
Yeah. Rhea, how about you?
I don't usually plug stuff that I don't do on GameLuster, but I'm going to because this has been a political
that's
episode,
okay, yeah.
So I might as well.
That's a very political move, yeah.
Yeah, but the reason why is because I did a opinion piece on how I like the representation of sex workers in Cyberpunk 2077. We never really do overtly political episodes. I thought I'd plug that now. I was just very proud of it. I made a point and was positive about a game that it's been hard to be positive about, so check that out.
Sure.
Completely changing the tone. I'm also working on a Let's Play I did with Kate at GameLuster on Pub Encounter, a pub-based dating sim. So yeah, keep an eye on the channel for that.
Where you date old men.
Yep, men who are also incredibly creepy, we found out. Kate originally played it when drunk and didn't realise how creepy they were. Oh my god,
Interesting.
It's so bad.
Interesting. So I'm well underway on the Steam backlog diaries. I'm streaming those on Twitch as I go through them. So my challenge for the year was that I have 66 unplayed games in my Steam library. By the end of the year, I will have tried all of them for at least a few hours. And so I'm basically going through my Steam library slowly, 5 or 6 games a month, and I'm streaming that on my Twitch channel at Gondeezy. You can find it there. And I'm going to do a little summary on the GameLuster YouTube channel at the end of each month, kind of reviewing my time with each game, how I felt about finding, I'm trying a game of a genre I would literally never play on my own, etc., etc. So, yeah, I think that'll be pretty good. I'm glad to have a kind of a project like that for the year.
I can attest that they are pretty entertaining.
Yeah, you can of course, Kyle's word is law, and so I would like for and so anybody who wants to suggest any games or franchises for us to cover, I would love for you to hit us up on Twitter at GameBustersPod. Let us know, and if we'll put it in next time we can for sure. So I guess last word for the winner. I think Ree, you have a catchphrase you always say that's gonna take us out of here and break us out of this break us out of Castle Wolfenstein.
Funny enough, I am actually saying this a lot recently. Please stop voting for Nazis, please. There we go. Done.
All right. Can we get that again, a little just more convincing though? I want a little more confidence in it.
Confidence. I'm at my wit's end, Nirav. As much energy I can muster. Cause
I know we're just like I hate that we're at the point where we're just pleading, please don't vote for the Nazis.
Please. How much more obvious do they have? How much more obvious do they have to make it that they're bad? Please. I will be quiet as much as possible so we can reduce the politics.
If you could just let the men talk.